Hey everybody, welcome again to another episode of Wheel of Albums. Along with my brother Adam and our friend Jack, I am Justin. What we do here on Wheel of Albums, we listen to an album for a week that we've spun on the big wheel of the 1001 albums you must hear before you die. Then we get together at the end of the week. We bring you a short podcast on if we think this album is something you must hear before you die. This week I spun the week. This week I spun the wheel and not the week. I spun Travis's 1999 sophomore effort, The Man Who. So this is an album I'm familiar with. I bought it after seeing them open for Oasis in 2000. Funny seeing them in concert because they were kind of the yin to the yang with Oasis, where Oasis is kind of brash and full bravado and everything. Travis comes off as quite polite with nice, thoughtful lyrics and thoughtful music all put together. And they were even thoughtful with the crowd. Hey, is everybody having a good time? One of the best things about it is this right here. If you have an Alexis or an Echo at home, one of my favorite things to do is this. Echo, why does it always rain on me?
I don't know. Maybe because you told a lie when you were 17.
Oh, that's good stuff. Yeah, so I was looking forward to going back and revisiting this one.
My thoughts went immediately to Travis Tritt or the disco band Traverse. I had total blindness going into this, other than I believe Adam told me that this would be somewhere along the lines of Oasis or Radiohead Light.
For me, is a favorite from the college days. It's like, I'm hoping when I listen to it, like a well-worn t-shirt. Got to see them in Indianapolis. Looks like they played about 9 songs. A lot from The Man Who. A lot of good memories, and was kind of pumped to see this was the album we get to listen to this week.
When you look at the timeline now, back in retrospect, around 1999, Radiohead fans were pretty hungry for the follow-up to OK Computer. I know I was. And you started seeing like splinters of Brit Pop falling apart. And that void was taken over, that Muse and Travis were two bands contending to fill that void of OK Computer not being around. At least Travis, because of how polite they are, they kind of manifested themselves into Coldplay that came out later the next year. At least that's how I'm telling the story.
I'm not a big fan of Radiohead anyways. I do like Coldplay, and they're making some news here, helping break up marriages. Good for them.
To me, it's kind of like the Slaughter or Nelson of the Brit Pop scene. Slaughter or Nelson were just a little bit too late to the party with hair metal, and that's kind of how I feel with Travis. They sound an awful lot like if the Oasis ballads got together with Radiohead's slower songs and had a baby.
We'll call it Roasis.
It's still enjoyable if you like that type of music. And boy, I like the Oasis ballads from back in the 90s, but songs like The Fear and As You Are, those are just kind of downers to me.
And not just those two. Last Laugh of the Laughter, She's So Strange, and Love. I mean, that's half the album right there.
Where it sits in the pantheon of Brit Pop, it is in fact bubblegum. It is very pleasant.
When they tap into Wistful, which I think is Travis's strength, like on Driftwood and Writing to Reach You, yeah, it's pleasant in a good way in a few spots on here.
It doesn't hurt my feelings.
I do like how Fran Healy, the lead singer from Travis, keeps bringing up Wonderwall and what's a Wonderwall anyway.
And that's some of my favorite lines on here on Slideshow. With Wonderwall, there is no Wonderwall to climb or step around. There's no devil haircut in my mind. There is no design for life, Manic Street Preachers.
It kind of feels like they're in tune with the times of like the aftershock or of Britpop a little bit, and the rise and stardom and hugeness of like the song Wonderwall, and wondering what that all means.
This is just Travis, like the after party of Britpop.
But it does waste my time. I'm not enjoying what they're putting out. And it seems almost, and I have to give them credit since this is 99 and this wasn't artificial intelligence, produce a late 90s, early 2000s generic Britpop sound. And it's successful.
And I don't know if it's the artwork that's included with the CD, but I've always felt like these songs were made for the great outdoors. Driftwood feels like a song for walking along the beach. Why Does It Always Rain on Me? Obviously for a rainy day on the prairie. What do you guys think whenever you hear a song here? What type of outdoor setting are you going with? Maybe even to go camping and pitch a tent and have some beans. Have that last laugh of laughter over in an open campfire. Some s'mores.
And there's a lot of earth elements to The Man Who. The opening number, Writing to Reach You, feels like a song that was written by someone lost in the wilderness, sitting by a campfire, reaching out to a family member. So you could pitch a tent and open a can of beans and listen to that tune.
Outdoor living. These guys sound like they're indoor people.
The songs Driftwood and Why Does It Always Rain on Me, again, feels like you're just lost in the wilderness.
Track that stands out to me, probably the first part of Slideshow. But when you listen to it and then you reimagine in your brain, boy, I wish Rocket from the Crypt would do this song. Then you can really enjoy it because you can imagine it being handled much, much better and a lot faster. And of course, Rocket from the Crypt's probably going to sneak a couple horns in there. So do I want to pitch a tent and open a can of beans to Slideshow? Yeah, to the Rocket from the Crypt version.
Jack, I took a quick peek. Scream, Dracula's Scream is on the wheel.
One I've always turned to the most, no pun intended, is the song Turn. I don't know if it's because, I was getting ready to graduate college when the song came out, and I was ready to kind of take on the world. And even though the chorus is kind of, generic, where it's just turn, 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 it's, the world is turning, and if you're willing, I always felt like you could be standing on top of a mountain saying, this is where I'm headed with life.
That's beautiful, man.
So I've always enjoyed that song the most out of all the songs on this one.
Yeah, I was gonna rail into how Turn has a generic chorus, but Adam, you've turned me into a believer. If you learn to turn, what's gonna be next in this great big world out there?
Looking through your pantry, always not satisfied with what you've laid out for on your charcuterie board.
All right, well, we look at the ratings. Scale 1 to 10 for all the songs. Adam was the highest. He scored in the 7s. I scored it in the 6s. Jack, a low 3.42. And when we look at our favorite songs on here, we agree that Writing to Reach You, Why Does It Always Rain on Me, and Driftwood are 3 of our favorites. A couple of our least favorites, Love and She's So Strange.
Is The Man Who, a record that you must listen to before you die. This record reminded me of something Adam had told me before. It's a Millard Fillmore statement. Millard Fillmore, apparently on his deathbed, was served some soup, eats it up, says, "This nourishment was palatable. This record is palatable. It's not good, it's listenable, it's pleasant, but it's not something that you must hear before you die." And then along those lines, not a lot of guys named Millard anymore.
Jack, I'm going to echo your sentiment that this is an album you do not need to hear before you die. I like The Man Who a lot more than you do, and I think the 4 singles on her, I think they're really good late 90s singles. As a whole album, it doesn't hold a flame compared to a lot of the other stuff that was coming out in the late 90s. I'm kind of surprised it's on the list. It's a good listen, and it was fun to go back and listen to, but it's not essential. Overall, I don't think it's something you need to hear before you die. Adam, what do you think?
Even though I love this album, it's nostalgia for me, I got to say no. You do not need to listen to this album before you die. There's way better Brit Pop albums to listen to, even though, certain songs on this one hold a special place in my heart. Maybe just shuffle, look up Travis's biggest hits and just go from there with it.
All right, so 3 nays for The Man Who. Still fun to go back and listen to. All right, Adam, you've got the wheel. Give that thing a spin for our next album.
Next up on the Wheel of Albums, it looks like Jimmy Page and the gang are coming in from England, wielding their powers like Thor's Hammer of the Gods with their 3rd album, Led Zeppelin 3.
That raining song, Why Does It Always Rain on Me, kind of reminds me of Monkey's song, like where Davy's dream girl is kind of accidentally broken up with him over a misunderstanding, and he's sad. But it's definitely a Davy song. Nobody can argue with that.
All right, so the music's faded and you think the podcast is over, but it's not, because just like on Travis the Man Who, we're going to give you a bonus track. The bonus track on The Man Who is Blue Flashing Light. Rocking song compared to the rest of the album. Kind of like, I fooled you. Look, we're going to rock out here. What do you guys think of it?
Ranks up there as one of the best, and I actually Googled best hidden tracks of all time, and it actually was listed when I got the search results for that. And looking at when we saw them in concert in 2000, they actually ended their set with Blue Flashing Light. It is by far the most rocking song on the entire album.
It seems from reading the reviews that this particular hidden track, but it was Blue Flashing Light, and it seems like that's a little bit more aggressive, which is the opposite of the other 10 songs on the album. But from reading reviews of this, it seems that it was closer into their prior album. So they were getting away from the rock so that they could get more to the niceties.
It seems to me, I've always thought at the end of it that, and the Scots will appreciate this, the old Scottish term, get louty.
He was getting it loudy.
Giving it an extra effort here at the end. I wish this album would have had a few more songs like Blue Light Special, but in the end it feels kind of jarring compared to the rest, right? Hey, for my brother Adam and our friend Jack, I'm Justin. We hope you have a great week. Led Zeppelin 3 is next week. We're going to give that a listen. And I'm sorry that you turned to Driftwood.
You've been drifting for a long, long time. Drifting for a long, long. Drifting for a long, long time.
That's so nice.
He was getting it loudy.